Sonic Superstars Fang's Big Break. It starts with Eggman, Fang, and Eggmobiles hovering in front of the islands of Sonic Superstars, with Eggman giving him the predictable exposition that he's hired him to hunt down whatever wonders are here. Why is he only telling him this now? He likes being withholding, apparently. It is tedious to have to explain yourself. He just likes being reminded that he's got a position of power over him by the fact that he didn't have to tell him why he was hiring him right away to get him to come here. He just had to tell him he was gonna pay him if he did. Wait a minute, why does he think he needs Fang in particular to search for anything that let him conquer the world instead of also searching himself, when so many of the games had him looking for stuff like that by himself? And here he's just gonna stay here. He didn't think he had to hire someone else to find Project Shadow. And Sega originally planned on bringing back Fang for Heroes with Bean and Bark. So it's not that they were considering those characters to be off limits back then just because it wasn't the classics, when Amy made it into the Dreamcast game just fine. Suddenly here, Eggman is doing nothing because he's lazy now, when he could just send a robot to do this for free. I assumed he sent Fang here specifically to look for treasure, and that would be sort of justified because he wouldn't know how to program treasure hunting strategy and knowledge into a robot. Although I'd argue that since Eggman's experienced treasure hunting already because he's been looking for the Chaos Emerald since the main Genesis games, he was the first treasure hunter. But it makes sense that since the only treasure he ever found was the Master Emerald one time, he would see an actually successful treasure hunter as superior at this. The story made more sense in my head, but explaining that Eggman doesn't know there's treasure here has it make less sense. Because he's not just looking for treasure. Any regular old methods of searching the island should be just as likely to work for finding beasts and people that help him. Him searching the island as well as Fang would make finding whatever he wants twice as fast as the alternative. Actually, there's no reason for him not to hire a treasure hunter anytime he goes somewhere now, just in case he gets treasure out of the deal, and only pay him if he does find it. And I can even use this to figure out why he didn't keep hiring Fang into the modern era. Either Fang got tired of almost never finding treasure, or he died. I like that Fang calls Knack a fake name that he dropped years ago, because I always thought Knack sounded lame. But it's insulting that Fang the Sniper is allowed to be mentioned, but isn't what he goes by, when there's no reason he wouldn't go by Sniper when he is a sniper still. He's not called Sniper anymore because censorship, so why was Sniper in the comic? I don't know why Fang is taking the risk of being condescending to Eggman. Doesn't he want to get paid and not punched in the face? Eggman Lampshade says needlessly confusing, and fortunately there's an explanation. When you're a wanted criminal, you use all sorts of tricks to cover your trail. But he doesn't mention any other trick than different names. A different name alone wouldn't work when people still put wanted posters of his face up. Only a ski mask would solve his problem. Since when does Fang need to tell people his name anyways? I thought he never interacted with anyone unless it was an enemy or someone trying to hire him, aside from him needing to buy food, which wouldn't require a name exchange. So Eggman really does not go to the island while Fang does. Fang's thoughts are boring, pointing out the obvious. As soon as he lands on the island, he gets spotted, and the rustling of the grass as a result has him nervous. Logically, he has no reason to be, because he has a stupid little kiddyified gun from Sonic the Fighters with him that nobody in his position would settle for. It looks silly, but it still hurt, so making him a coward is just out of character for him. I like that Eggman's sarcastic with him. Hilarious that Fang thinks Eggman would let him get away with billing him extra when he's lucky he pays him at all. This was already done in Archie. This whole plot point where he walks around an island was already implied in Sonic Superstars. The next page is completely worthless, boring padding where nothing happens. He finds some giant tracks in the grass for some reason, and yet another page is completely wasted on boring padding fan service. There's flashes of light hiding some of the impact when he gets punched in the flashback, so it's only slightly nice to see. And in the leftmost square, I'm too disgusted by how his eye bulges out to enjoy it. I'm so bored that I'm talking about the art. He sees a giant bird and takes a dumb risk of shooting at him with something that's basically harmless without it being foreshadowed that he was hungry enough to resort to this to get grapes. Why would he ever put up with this pathetic weapon? Why would he drop it as he's running away? The story has Fang move around a lot and eventually get his vehicle to put a net around the giant animal to capture him. I guess the reason he did this was to kidnap a minion for Eggman because he's so big. He could be assuming he would put a bomb in him to force him to be loyal to him because he's too big to fit in a badnik. He goes from looking at him to looking behind him for no apparent reason, considering that no noise happened to make him do that. Also, he went from having his vehicle be too high in the sky for anyone to hurt him to being low to the ground. For no reason. Which only makes it irritating that Trip trips on something she would have already seen before this from looking in front of her. So Fang can get to smash apart her spear, which had a pathetic wood handle instead of metal for no reason. It's already bad enough that the sharp part of the spear is still there, so she could just poke him with it, but doesn't. And the story ends without explaining why she won't when he's too short to be believable as someone she finds intimidating when she has a helmet protecting her. But knowing that Trip can spin dash makes it enragingly forced that this couldn't have ended with her spin dashing him over and over again because she works for him in the game. She can instantly spin dash in the games, so why does it end without explaining why she won't do that the second his back is turned to make him not a threat anymore? Why doesn't she spin dash him over and over again, giving him no chance to fight back because he'd keep getting knocked down? He doesn't even have his pop gun at this point. How is he a threat to her? He could do literally nothing to her. I assume this is her first intruder, so the excuse is she wants to go easy on him because she feels bad about the idea of hurting anyone, and she's a little kid. Knuckles wasn't like that, so that's no excuse. Knuckles had an actually good excuse. It could have been they didn't believe Eggman, but didn't beat him up anyways because just in case he wasn't lying, he didn't want to hurt someone who was trying to warn him about a thief. So he didn't even have to be gullible. I guess the plot is forced by Sega to have her get intimidated into this. And that's lame as fuck because there is a better way to do it. It's sad when repeating an old idea would be a better idea than trying to be new. Just have her get the same line. I used to assume she didn't know Eggman's side was evil and just didn't know any better. And even that would be better because it could have the excuse that she lives on a primitive island with no TV or internet. Because it's an island. I really did assume it was Knuckles' excuse, and that would be better than this pussy-ass excuse that especially doesn't sit well when she's a girl, and she happens to have the wimpier excuse. The story could have not wasted space, and had enough panels to actually prove that she couldn't fight her way out of this. It could have had Fang use a force field generator of Eggman's against the spin dash, and then tell her he'll never have his back to her. So there wouldn't be the question, why wouldn't she just spin dash him when he's not looking at her so that he wouldn't know to put the force field up? This boring story by Ian Flynn apparently shows Fang getting sent to the setting of Sonic Superstars by Eggman. But Eggman doesn't go there himself when that'll get the job done faster. And he doesn't even know for sure that there is treasure, so why doesn't he just have his robots do this and only hire Fang after the island's been thoroughly scouted for everything but treasure? This only makes the plot of the game make no sense. So it never should have existed. Because it only makes the character in the game look bad. Instead of actually explaining why Trip got intimidated by someone unarmed who wasn't much taller than her while she is able to spin dash instantly and has a helmet. Instead of the writer caring enough about Sonic and doing a good job to say Fang had a force field generator. And show him winning against Trip in a fight to prove she couldn't beat him. By taking off her helmet wrestling with her. It just makes Trip look like a wimp who gives up too easily at worst. Or only implies such a fight at best. It's sad when no creativity would have been better. While we don't need another Knuckles, giving her Knuckles' excuse would have still been better and forgivable when she already has enough to make her different from Knuckles. It would have had to end too fast if it cut out the boring panels where nothing's happening. It doesn't have him lie to her that he came here to warn her about a potential thief so she'd have a good reason to follow him. Which would have been clever of him. If Sega wouldn't have allowed either of that doesn't refute it, that's just lame as hell. It'd make no sense if Sega would have actively pushed for the wimpification of one of its characters. The only thing great the story does have is having Fang be capable of trapping a giant in a net with its vehicle. Which means nothing to me because I never knew it could do that, so it comes out of nowhere to make him win. And it's really the vehicle that's awesome, not him. We already knew Knack was retconned when it was called Fang internationally in the game, so the Knack as an alias thing doesn't make up for anything. None of these great things make up for anything.